Thank you, CDS. We're all aware that in the last 5-6 days, our country has been troubled with spate of violent protest in some states in the country. After the address of Mr. President on Sunday, tension doused. Peaceful protesters heeded the call of Mr. President to embrace dialogue. But we still have in few states, in Kano, Kaduna, Katsina, and Bauchi State, group of people who started subversive campaign, waving flags of other countries and openly calling for military takeover of government. This is not a protest, but an offense of treason. The Nigerian police has arrested a number of them, and they will be dealt with accordingly. They will be given appropriate charges. I want to use this opportunity to warn our youths to desist from accepting foreign flags from agents of destabilization. It is very, very implicating for them to be seen with flags of other countries while on protest. So far, the situation is under control, and we believe that after this press conference, those misguided elements and their sponsors would desist from these acts of treason. Thank you.
Thank you, Eki. From the General,
Thank you, the CDS, the IGP, and other very top military officers, gentlemen of the press. I must say that we are working very closely with all security agencies, especially the police. We are working very closely, and we have deployed sizable number of our staff all over the Federation. We have also made some arrests of especially those who are trying to attack or who have attacked critical national assets of government infrastructure. And we have seen that really there's no, if you trace the history of protests in the country, you will have seen that there's no protest that has been done successfully. Without some form of violence or the other. And this one is really not a protest from what we have seen. There are reports and there are agitations of a regime change, and that is treasonable in nature. And so let me say that we are going to work very closely together to sustain and even one above the present situation of the form of operation that security agencies are doing. From the core, we are ready. We are championing the cause of peace, trying to educate Nigerians that there's no need for this protest, and that if you want to do protest, you do protest without violence. And so we are ready and we are poised to work with all agencies to make sure that this protest or this situation is nipped in the bud. With this, I want to thank the CDS for giving me the opportunity to really say something. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, CDS, I also want to appreciate this opportunity provided for us to have this briefing, a joint briefing. I'd like to also inform gentlemen of the press that this kind of joint action has been going on under the leadership of the Inspector General of Police, even before the outbreak of the national protest. The ongoing protests have been premised on a number of themes, and one of them is end hunger. So part of the protest has addressed the issue of food inflation in our markets, food security in the long run. And I'd like to let Nigerians know that there has been a lot that is going on to address these issues that are related to ameliorate this situation through a mixture of fiscal policies of government and a number of strategic interventions from ministries, departments, and agencies of government. One of the things that I recall is the intervention through the distribution of strategic food items, which was released from the National Grain Reserves about a month ago. This was released to all states of the Federation. We also recall that a number of the food items that are consumed in Nigeria are imported. A better part of the components are imported, and importation are not done off the shelf. They take some time before they are done. So one of the things that the president has done is to reduce to cushion the effect of the cost inflation by suspending customs duties and taxes on imported food items for a period of time. We believe that when this is implemented, it will help to bring down the prices of food items in the market. Now, Nigeria Customs is committed to the implementation of this particular fiscal policies as enunciated by government. But I also like to remind Nigerians that we need to be very, very careful in the implementation of this, and this is why the guidelines for implementation is being meticulously worked out at the Ministry of Finance. What does this kind of intervention, what does it imply for the local markets? Because we're trying to address the interest of all the stakeholders. Most of these food items that is going to enjoy these duty waivers and concessions are also being cultivated by Nigerian farmers. And so there is the interest to strike, there is the issue of striking a balance between the interests, the long-term interests of Nigerian farmers, Nigerian stakeholders who are involved in the productions of these items, and the short-term interest of addressing food inflation. So the guidelines are being worked out at the Ministry of Finance, and I can assure you that within the next 1 week, these guidelines will be ready, and Nigeria Customs would begin implementation of these particular fiscal policies. So I therefore urge Nigerians to be a little bit patient, believing that some of these items that have already arrived at our shores would be cleared without imposition of customs duty and taxes. Once again, I want to express sincere gratitude for the opportunity to be part of this in the interest of national peace and security. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. The representative of the DGA SSS.
CDS and other service chiefs, the gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, and indeed, fellow patriotic Nigerians. Nigeria definitely is not the best, and even if it were, the have continued to gather appropriate intelligence and escalate them as appropriate, disseminate timely, actionable intelligence to action agencies and appropriate stakeholders on the basis of need to know and necessity for national security. On the 25th of July, particularly, the service issued a very clear, direct press statement saying that, yes, protest is a democratic right of citizens, but this particular one is one that is going to be mismanaged by the organizers, sponsors, and participants. And we said we identified the funding lines, we identified the sponsors and critical role players in the protest. But were we going to start with arrest of persons and being combative? We said no. We applied moral suasion and multi-track diplomatic shuttle initiatives to appeal to the good conscience of such persons to say, down your tools, the government is already on top of the situation, doing so much, give the government an opportunity to also do what is needful. And 2 days ago, the president has come out to say, yes, I have heard your complaints. Come forward and dialogue as appropriate. We want to join goodwill Nigerians, persons of patriotic disposition, to say you cannot destroy your nation and still want to have it. You cannot, by any stroke of any imagination, be in the forefront of destroying your nation. The places that we desire to go to live in, they are who they are because they obey laws, because they love their nations. People protest, but protest can also be of significant good if people adhere to the rules of engagement. In situations where protesters destroy public infrastructure, PIFA, loot, and undermine public peace, that definitely will not be tolerated. And there is no responsible government or security organization in any nation across the world that will fold their hands and allow the peace of their nation brought down by people who are either have decided to be subversive or illegitimately disposed to insecurity and disorder. We appeal to our youths, to our mothers, to our fathers, to the generality of Nigerians, to please give peace a chance and allow the government do what is needful, as committed as it has become. The federal government and all the subnationals will do what is very strategic for the nation. For us, again, we have continued to map out strategies to ensure that whether at this level or at any other level, to ensure that any person who is involved in outright display of anarchy and chaos in the nation must be brought to book. In London or in the UK, the Prime Minister said before yesterday that those who are engaged in the protest, violent protest in that part of the country would face consequences. And definitely people must face consequences. But that is not where we are now. Where we are is to appeal to people to be rational, to give peace a chance indeed. But for us, we will continue to do what is needful in line with our obligations. We'll procure adequate intelligence, disseminate the same to appropriate authorities, and act as we should in line with international protocols and the constitution of the nation as may be relevant. Please, gentlemen of the press, we will also appeal to you to be careful, to be cautious about the narratives. Storytelling is what drives conflict of this nature. When we tell our stories and skew information to the detriment of public order, The end result is that people act on your stories. We want a situation where, when this has ended, you will be proud that you were not part of those who contributed to the inflammation of conflict or violence in the nation. Across the world, we have seen the tendencies or the contributions of media in violence. As men of pen, please apply good conscience and please tell stories that unite. Tell stories that raise hope and not stories that divide or create fear. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Next is the Chief of Defense Intelligence. All right. Okay, we'll go to the Chief of Air Staff.
The Chief of Defense Staff, sir, other service chiefs and heads of security agencies, members of the media, good morning, and thank you for this privilege, sir. Well, first, I want to assure all Nigerians that we are aware of some of the challenges and the hardships that the country is going through, and Nigerians, the ordinary Nigerians are going through right now. And we are also fully aware of every Nigerian's constitutional right to participate in peaceful protest. However, looking back at what has happened in the past few days, it is very clear to every peace-loving and patriotic Nigerian that these protests are no longer what they were purported to be. Instead, it's very clear to all that the protests have been hijacked by criminal elements and other groups that do not mean well for the country. I want to remind all Nigerians that while it is a constitutional right to participate in peaceful protest, it is also an offense and a crime to engage in disorder, violence, and chaos. And it is also the responsibility of the armed forces and other security agencies to ensure that violence, disorder, and chaos do not prevail, and will ensure that this does not happen. So I appeal to all well-meaning and peace-loving Nigerians to give peace a chance, to go back and give dialogue a chance and let the problems be resolved peacefully. Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief has addressed the nation. He has assured all that all the grievances and challenges and the complaints are being addressed, and I can assure Nigerians that a lot is being done by the government to address these complaints and these grievances. So let us give peace a chance. Let us go back and allow dialogue to take place and let the problems be resolved gradually. We coming out, or Nigerians coming out to participate in violence, destruction, and looting cannot solve the problem. Will never solve the problem. It's going to only aggravate it and make it worse. So let us go back, desist from this protest, desist from perpetrating violence and disorder and chaos. Let us go back and give this a chance and allow the federal government to implement the policies that will eventually address all these grievances and complaints. The armed forces and other security agencies will not sit back and allow hoodlums and criminals to take the law into their hands and oppress other peace-loving and law-abiding Nigerians. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Chief of Naval Staff.
Thank you very much. The Chief of Defense Staff, Service Chiefs and the Inspector General of Police, heads of other security agencies that are here, members of the media, distinguished senior officers, ladies and gentlemen, good morning or good afternoon. First, let me thank the CDS for providing this forum to enable us speak to Nigerians and also speak to our officers and men regarding the prevailing issues of protests in Nigeria as it is today. I want to first of all start by recognizing the fact that Nigerians as citizens have a constitutional right to peaceful protest. And the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, also equally recognizes ample opportunity for people to air their grievances peacefully. These protests, which started in that light, of course, we can all see today that it has taken another dimension. We share in the hopes and aspirations of Nigerians for better governance, which the President has also enunciated in the recent speech he made. The speech clearly brought out the intention of the President and the President administration towards addressing the issues of poverty and hardship that are facing Nigerians. On our part, the Armed Forces of Nigeria, we've been doing all that we need to do to ensure that we provide the enabling environment to support Mr. President and this government in the attainment of this objective of reducing poverty and hardship in this country. Particularly the Nigerian Navy, we have been working assiduously towards addressing the issue of insecurity in a maritime environment, and this has so far been paying really positive results, leading to the increase in our oil production, which is the mainstay of our economy. We also understand the enormous pains faced by Nigerians, because we're also Nigerians. But we understand that this cannot be addressed through violence, and that the only way to do is for all hands to be on deck positively towards changing this narrative. But I want to use this forum to remind each and every one of us that the Armed Forces of Nigeria is constitutionally charged with the responsibility of defense of the nation from both internal and external aggression and protection of the sovereignty of this country. And this is for the overall good of the entire citizens of this country. In addition to that, the Armed Forces Act has given us several other responsibilities which enable us to provide aid to civil authority. Key among these responsibilities is the protection of democracy and the protection of the freedom of Nigerians and their freedom to be able to select who should lead them. And that's why I say that the armed forces is the power behind ensuring that democracy thrives in Nigeria, and we are committed to do that because that is our mandate and it's something we've been trained to do, and we have to just do it. As we have seen that the protest has taken a new dimension to the extent that it has become something that appears to be subversive in nature. Because when you are protesting for bad governance or you are protesting for poverty, and then we see people deliberately calling for change of government, unconstitutional change of government, people asking for foreign intervention in our country, it shows that the intention of some of these protesters are not exactly what Nigerians were made to believe. It is obvious to us that many of these protesters are sponsored by elements, subversive elements, who are bent on distorting the peace that we have enjoyed in the last 25 years of democratic governance. It is also obvious to us that these people who want to perpetrate this ideology have other intentions other than the intention which they have made the gullible Nigerians to believe. And for that reason, as part of our constitutional responsibility, which is protection of the sovereignty of this country and provision of aid to civil authority, we are ready and we stand firm and resolute to provide the needed assistance to the Nigerian police in order to ensure that law and order is restored in all parts of this country where these violent protests have started. We will not renege in our responsibility, and we are ready to do it with the last drop of our blood. That I can assure you. The Nigerian Navy particularly will not sit back to watch these subversive elements take over our Commonwealth. We will do all that is required within the ambit of the law to show them that they have no place in our society, because we believe that we are protecting the majority of Nigerians, over 99.9% of Nigerians who believe in peace, who believe in the future of this country. These bad elements constitute less than insignificant part of our population, but unfortunately, they have the reach, they have the resources, and they are also backed by bad elements who want to see us go the way of Somalia and other countries. We, the armed forces of Nigeria, particularly the Nigerian Navy, say no to that, and we are ready to fight it to the end. On this note, I want to inform this audience that we have rejigged our operations and we have instituted other means to be able to track these subversive elements and bring them to book. We are therefore appealing on well-meaning Nigerians to join us in this vanguard for peace, to join us in reaching out to these hoodlums and let them know that the federal government of Nigeria is their friend, while those who are pushing them to go into subversion are the real enemies of the state and by implication, the real enemies of all Nigerians. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you very much. The Chief of Army Staff.
The Chief of Defense Staff, sir, fellow service chief, heads of other security agencies, gentlemen media practitioner. Long before 1st of August this year, troops of the Nigerian Army have been deployed in the public space, maintaining law and order in line with our constitutional provision as enshrined in Section 217 of the 1999 Constitution. The reason for this deployment of troops is the fact that we were challenged, and we are still challenged security-wise, as a nation. Come 1st of August this year, and for the past 5 days, there has been a different dimension to the security challenge in our country. We have witnessed wanton destruction of properties, loss of lives, and even stretching the insecurity in our nation to the point of treason and subversion. The troops of the Nigerian Army have addressed this situation on case-by-case basis in conjunction with other security agencies. I want to, on behalf of the officers and soldiers of the Nigerian Army, state unequivocally that the Nigerian Army stand assured in defense of our democracy, of our peace, of our harmony, and we are not going to shift ground on that. Our return to democracy in 1999 as a nation cost us blood and treasure. So my appeal to youth is that what we have witnessed in the past 5 days is an investment, needless investment of blood, of treasure, calling for an unconstitutional change of government. The Nigerian Army will not sit by and watch the nation slide into anarchy. Accordingly, the troops of the Nigerian Army will continue to work in conjunction with other security agencies in the population space to maintain law and order. I want to appreciate the press for reports that we have received on the performance of our troops so far since the outbreak of this nationwide protest that's turned into riots. We have taken into account your reports. We have used them to streamline the performance of our troops, and we will even inculcate them into our doctrine. I want to thank the youths. I want to thank the generality of Nigerians. I want to thank the media that since the break of day today, since 0600 hours, the reports from across the nation is that we have returned back to a palpable state of peace and security. And I believe going forward, we will continue along that trajectory. So I seek for the understanding of the media, the youths, the generality of Nigerians to continue to support our troops as they work with like-minded Nigerians to ensure that peace, law, and order reign in our country. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, gentlemen and ladies. I'm sure we're all aware that today's event is unprecedented. I don't think in the history of Nigeria we've had a situation where all the heads of security forces are here on ground to discuss and be able to talk to the press for Nigerians. It shows the respect we have for our dear country. It shows the love for God and country. It shows that we're committed in our task and that we love Nigeria. We don't want anything bad to happen to Nigeria, and that's very important for everyone to understand. None of us here is happy to hear any Nigerian is injured for whatever reason. It's our duty to protect Nigerians. The only people we're after are those ones that don't mean us well, the enemies of the state. And anyone who makes himself an enemy of the state then will be ready to face the law. We're going to remain focused, committed. We're going to respect human rights, the rights of everyone who is lawfully performing his task or his duty, but we will not relent in pursuing those that have continued to encourage unconstitutional to take over of government or subversion, vandalism, or destruction of lives and property. And I think we just want to make that very clear. We remain very professional. We have talked to our men outside in the field that they must respect the rights of everyone. We encourage the youths to dialogue, to understand that destruction, mob action, does nobody any good. We know there are challenges in the country, and these challenges are not only here. Every country is facing one challenge or the other. So we are not isolated because of the new world order. So it is important that we speak with the same voice in support of our dear country, Nigeria. Whatever that is happening, the solution is a whole of society solution. And that's why we preach people-centrism in everything that we do. Now it's time for question and answer. Please, I will advise that we go straight to the point, no double-barrel questions. If they ask a question that has been treated, please let's move on so that we can finish and go back to our normal duties. You can carry on, Bishop.
So please introduce yourself, the media you represent, and direct your question to either the CDS, service chiefs, Inspector General of Police, or any of the head of security agencies on the high table. Please go ahead.
My name is Lucky Isawode. I work for Channels Television. On Friday, when you addressed the press, you said the military may step in to assist the police. And it appears part of the stepping in is a clear violation of the court order restricting the protesters to the National Stadium, as your men and that of the police have effectively taken over the stadium, which is the approved venue for the protest. Why is this so, sir? Thank you.
So next, okay, the lady.
Najatu Tijani from NTA. My question is both for the CDS and the IGP. Sirs, how do you intend to address the alleged use of excessive force by both the military and law enforcement officers of the police? There have been some allegations by some protesters on social media. How do you intend to address that to ensure that it doesn't happen? Thank you.
So let's take two more. Okay, yeah, you.
Sir Umar Bologi, I write for The Nation, sir. It is on record that the federal government has distributed some palliatives, rice and others. Unfortunately, the main problem is how these things get to the grassroots, and that is where the problem comes. Many people have also pointed accusing fingers at the governors, and I want to ask, of all these security situations, are the governors actually dialogue with or put in the know of some of these implications at this stage, the distribution of this palliative to the grassroots? Thank you very much, sir.
In your question too.
CDS, sir.
Okay, thank you.
The CDS, sir. The CDS, sir. Good morning, sir. My name is Ihoto. I report for AIT. So, sir, considering the situation at the moment, we understand that most of the men have been deployed to curtail what is happening across the nation. So, should Nigerians be worried that attention may have been shifted from other operations? And if that is not the situation, do you have enough manpower to address Nigeria's security needs? My second question is to the IGP, sir. So a video emanated yesterday from Kaduna State. Like I said, they emanated and it's on the social media. And we saw how demonstrators on the streets were on one of your APC. I don't know what the situation is at the moment. I would like you to tell us more about that, sir. And sir, to the DSS, sir, yesterday we were at the meeting, the interagency committee briefing, and you couldn't confirm if one of the organizers was in your custody. It's 24 hours, sir. I believe that you have more briefing and more details about that. Can you confirm that, sir? Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think what we'll do is that most of the questions you asked, though you directed them to the CDS, but I think the IGP has more to say. So, IGP, I will round up at the end of it, so we'll get to it. IGP.
Thank you, CDS. Thank you for these questions. The first question directed to the IG. Okay, the question was about how do we intend to address the allegation of use of excessive force by the police and the military. I want to respond to that by saying that the police and the military, indeed no other security agency involved in the management of this protest has deployed excessive use of force. Instead, what we had was attack on security agents during the protest. From our record, there was no shooting incident by the police. The police or the military did not use any live ammunition in the management of this protest. Instead, we have had cases where our officers were injured critically and are still in critical condition in the hospital as we speak. So I would dismiss that as fake news. It is not true. It's a very wrong allegation. We didn't use excessive force at all. We didn't even deploy the whole of our strength in this protest, even when it turned violent. We have water cannons we didn't deploy. We have rubber bullets we didn't use. All that we have used in this protest, in the management of the process, is tear gas smoke and nothing more. Then the second question on whether attention of security agents will have shifted from other focuses to the protest. I would say no. We were not overstretched. We had standby units that we didn't deploy in managing this protest. Even while the protest was going on, a number of criminals were arrested. Hoodlums who came out to commit armed robbery were arrested. The only thing we didn't have was kidnapping. But any other offense that was committed, we paid due attention to those criminal activities. Then the third question was on the report on the social media that one of our armored personnel carrier, APC, was hijacked by protesters in Kaduna. That also is not true. I saw the video going around, but the situation in Kaduna was that we didn't even deploy APC for the protest. The APC you saw in that video was deployed to the gate of the government house in Kaduna. Protesters went to the gate, and as the APC was driving out, those protesters climbed the APC. So many of them, they climbed the APC. And what the driver of the APC did was to make a U-turn and go back to the front of the government house gate. So it wasn't a case of hijack of APC. Yeah, I think that's all.
I think the issue of the stadium.
Sir?
The stadium, the issue. What? The stadium? Yeah, the stadium.
Stadium?
Yes. National Stadium. The National Stadium. Yes.
Stadium was not, we didn't take over stadium. We provided security at the stadium. That was not a takeover of the stadium. We assured those who engaged us, who approached us, and told us about their intention to stage peaceful protest. We asked them to go to a particular location. And that if they go there, we will provide security. We assured them. We have said at several occasions that we recognize the rights of citizens to peaceful protest. And that for as long as the protesters remain peaceful, the police will be there with them. So we deploy adequately to the stadium to provide adequate protection for the protesters. So we didn't take over the stadium. Thank you.
All right, thank you. On the issue of palliative customs, I don't know if you have any comments on the distribution of palliatives. Yeah, what are the, yes.
CDS, sir, I wouldn't start a protest here that I'm not a governor. But all right, thank you very much. On the issue of palliative, times in the past, Nigeria Customs Service has been involved in the management of palliatives when we were directed to do so. Earlier in this year, when we had the issue of the food inflation and hunger, we were directed to conduct direct allocation of palliatives to Nigerians. And we went to the drawing board. We knew that it was going to involve a lot of logistics. Given the number of people that we anticipated that was going to turn out for that kind of event, you will all remember that we recorded, despite the best of our efforts, we recorded some fatalities in a place like Lagos, and this necessitated us to change our strategies that we used and deployed using organized structures as our distribution channels in some other places. For this particular exercise, the National Grain Reserves that I talked about, a committee was set up to actually handle the distribution, and the channels they used were state governors. These were allocated and it went straight to the governors, and the feedback I got was that most of them used the structures of their state emergency agencies to distribute these palliatives. There is also another ongoing one through the intervention which was directed by Mr. President to administer 50,000 metric tons of rice, which was brought into the country and is already being distributed using the same structure of these various state governors. Now, during one of the security meetings held with Mr. President, some of these issues were raised, and one of the decisions taken was that the President was going to further engage the state governors so that they will play their roles effectively in handling this crisis. The ball would be in the courts of the various state governors so that they could also prove that they are stakeholders in maintaining national peace and security and addressing the present crisis that we have at hand. If at any point in time we are directed again to proceed and do direct allocation of goods in our custody, of course, as a responsive agency of government, we will be willing to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. The DSS.
Thank you very much, AIT, for your question. Let me clearly state that the DSS is a responsible domestic intelligence agency. And by that, the service is accountable and transparent and is rule-governed. And in our security and intelligence governance procedures, we have no reasons whatsoever to arrest any person and not declare it. If you follow our tradition of operations, whether invitation or arrest or apprehension, we have always declared that to the public. Yesterday in the morning, when we were holding a press engagement, this question arose. And I said I had not had briefs on any of those arrests. But perhaps if we left the meeting and any information came forward to me, I will definitely reach out to the public. And I did. Afterwards, I issued a statement on our Twitter handle. And I said that the DSS can confirm that Adaramoye Michael, alias Michael Lenin, was not in the custody of the DSS. And I want to repeat it. He is not with us. And the fact is this, that anyone is a mufti does not suggest that the person is a DSS personnel. That anyone is in suit does not make the person a DSS or an intelligence officer. Most times, people misconstrue the outward dressing of any person as DSS. Many allegations had arisen as to the conduct of persons who were in Mufti during this period. They are not our staff, and I can categorically state that our operations are clearly ruled by standard operating procedures. Our officers are accountable in the issuance of arms, the issuance of order, and indeed the operation procedures are spelled out. So if we arrest any person, we will declare that to the public and will agree that the person has been arrested. So I want to re-emphasize again on behalf of the DSS that the person in question, Michael Adramoye Lenin, is not in our custody and he was not arrested by us. Opportunity again to say that on issues of rights, an exercise of right, no right is absolute. The right that gives you freedom to do one also gives you freedom not to do that. And in the exercise of right, people must also exercise responsibility and restraint. There is freedom to do and there is freedom not to do. If there is a curfew, people should, responsible citizens should by every means respect the laws of the land. Good citizens are known by their respect for the laws that govern their country. We know about duties of a citizen, respect for the symbols of the state, respect to the national anthem and the pledge, payment of your taxes and all of that. Because government will provide you security and ensure your welfare is maintained. And I think part of providing security is what we are doing, and we'll continue to do this. I challenge or I call on Nigerians, everyone, if you see something, say something. The DSS has offices across the 36 states and the FCT, and the 774 local governments. Please walk into our office, give us any information, and we'll use it without divulging the source of the information. We protect our sources. There are many good citizens who come forward to give us information. The DSS and security agencies, we shouldn't adopt the practice, for the citizens, you shouldn't adopt the practice of we versus them. Security management is a collective endeavor. No one hand can tie a parcel, neither will one hand clap. It takes the unity of all of us to solve the problem of our nation. If you are a citizen and you are a good one for that matter, please give information when, if, and as appropriate. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. IGP.
Thank you, CDS. While answering the question on the allegation of use of excessive force by the police and the military, I didn't address the case that was reported of a young man who was shot somewhere around Kubwa in Abuja. I saw the video and I ordered immediate investigation. I guess that is why the person who asked that question asked. I saw the trending video and I immediately ordered investigation into that. The eyewitness said that they saw a group of people, a team, dressed in black and black police uniform. And I said that that will not be from us. Because throughout the protest, our dress order is the camo, which I'm wearing now. And not just the camo, it's the camo with the red band worn on the left arm. So if you see any other person that is dressed in the regular black and black police uniform, that cannot be police. That is not from the Nigerian police. I don't know where they came from. They may be armed robbers, they may be anything, but they are not police. That's what the findings of the investigation that I ordered revealed. I want to also use this opportunity to commend Nigerians part in this protest, and who indeed spoke against it and agree with us that the protest is ill-timed, out of sheer patriotism and belief in the genuine effort of government to put the country on the path of economic recovery and growth. I also want to thank those who peacefully took part in the protest and withdrew from it when the protest turned violent. I also recognize the patriotism of those who heeded the call of Mr. President to embrace dialogue and immediately withdrew from the protest. I thank all Nigerians for the support that we have received while managing this protest. We still have pockets of demonstration by a few people in few states in the Northwest and the Northeast. As at this morning, the situation is calm, but we are not taking it for granted. Our officers are still on ground to ensure that we maintain the peace. I thank all Nigerians, and I want to assure you that the Nigerian police is here to serve you and to protect you. Thank you.
So we'll now take another set of questions, maybe 4. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, sir. My name is Odita Sunday. I write for The Guardian. Sir, what broke out after a day or two of the protest could just be described as insurrection. What measures are you taking to prevent further escalation of this insurrection? Secondly, are there indications of coordination or funding support from foreign entities? And if so, how are you countering it? Lastly, what contingency plans are in place in case the situation deteriorates? Although we are seeing peace this morning, but in case it comes up again, what plans are in place? Then to our CNS, sir, what are those other means, like you said in your speech, you have instituted to bring the subversive elements to book? On a final note, as a citizen that loves his country, I want to commend the security forces, especially the military and the police, for their exemplary handling of the violence so far. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, you with the speaker.
Yeah. My name is Kingsley Omonobi, Vanguard Newspapers. This question goes to the CDS, the IGP, and if the CG of Immigration has a contribution, to be welcome. Sir, the issue of subversion comes again. I think the manner the security agencies have been going about arresting people, flying flags, and distributing flags still leaves some questions to be answered. What about the real sponsors? Those behind the security agencies have been telling us that they have intelligence before this, that mercenaries might infiltrate and stuff like that. Now we are arresting the foot soldiers, those distributing flags. The perpetrator, the sponsor for these subversive actions are not those people. They are I believe well-to-do people, maybe or I don't know who they are, but the security agency should be able to go for these people and use them as example, not people distributing flags like, I mean, it will not end this insurrection like my colleague said. Thank you very much.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right, sir. My name is Taka David. My question is, I write for Leadership newspaper. My question is to the IGP. Sir, you said your men did not fire shots at people. On the day one of the protest, some of us went around and we saw men deployed to control this crowd with assault rifles. I want to know if it is part of your standard operating procedures to deploy men with assault rifles on such occasions.
Yes, sir.
Give it to him.
Yes. Thank you very much. Yes, my name is Friday Oloko. I work with Arise News. Now, of course, we want to find out the fate of the people who were arrested, like the young man in Kano who was arrested for sewing Russian flag. Now, the law stipulates that anybody who is arrested should be produced in court within 24 hours, according to the Habeas Corpus Act. What is the fate of the young people who have been arrested? When will they face trial in court? Thank you.
So, sir, may I request for response? Okay. Okay, the lady.
Good afternoon, sirs. My name is Onje Ojochenemi. I write for Business Day newspapers. My question is for CNS. What are you doing, sir, to boost oil production in the nation? In specific terms, sir, what are you doing to boost oil production in the nation? Because oil production is, a great part of our economy, and would like to know what you're doing, sir. Thank you very much.
Any more questions? Okay,
I think that's for now. Let's go to IGP again, because most of the questions is you, so everybody's...
Thank you, CDS. First question on how do we prevent escalation of the situation? We have deployed adequately and we are responding appropriately to the situations as they unfold. Where we need to use tear gas smoke, we deploy tear gas smoke. Where we need to provide protection, we provide protection. Where we need to make arrest, we make arrest. That's the way we are managing the protest. And we don't see it escalating. Although we are aware that the sponsors of this protest, some of them have clear motive to subvert the government of the day. We are not going to allow that. We will defend our democracy. Then the question on how are we countering funding of the protest? We are doing a lot that I won't be able to immediately expose to you, how we are countering funding. We have blocked some accounts, and we are still monitoring them. Some of them are outside the country, and we are still going to get them. You asked, what do we do in case the situation deteriorates? I've answered that. We respond to all situations as they unfold. If it deteriorates, we will deploy more. More resources will be deployed if it deteriorates. And I've said earlier on, where necessary, when it gets out of hand and the police is overwhelmed, we will hand over to the military. And I'm not seeing that happening in this case. Then there was this question on, issue of subversion. We are arresting those carrying flags of foreign nations and leaving the sponsors. Yes, we have to arrest those carrying flags to be able to get to the sponsors. We know that those flags that those children were carrying were handed over to them by some people. If we don't arrest them, how do we know who handed over those flags to them? We have also arrested tailors who sewn some of those flags. That is how we get to the sponsors. It's not just enough to have intelligence that some people are sponsoring subversive activities. What we need is to get the evidence against them. There are two elements of an offense. For those who studied law, there is the intention to commit offense, and it's called the mens rea. And there is the slightest manifestation of that intention. That's the real act. It's called the actus reus in law. So mere intention is not enough to grant conviction in court. So both must happen. Both the mens rea and the actus reus must come together. So we won't stop at the level of mens rea. We will wait also for the actus reus for us to gain conviction in the court. Then there was this question on why are some of our men deployed to manage the protest are armed with assault rifles when we say that we didn't fire a shot. Let me tell you that in responding to protests, we deploy in units most of the time, and our unit consists of 3 sections. We have the batting section, we have the smoke section, and we have the rifle section. In this protest, we didn't deploy the rifle section. There was no need for it. We deployed only the smoke section. So we have used only tear gas smoke to degrade this protest. We didn't have to deploy rifle section. And when you see men armed with rifles, they are there in case there is need to deploy them. But where there is no need to deploy them, they will not be deployed. And in this case, we didn't deploy them. The fate of arrested persons in the protest. And the person who asked that question wanted us to make reference to the requirement of the law that says that arrested persons should appear in court within 24 hours. I want to tell you that the trial of those suspects have since begun. In Kano, for example, because we have large number of arrests in Kano, the magistrates moved to the police headquarters. And that is where trial is ongoing right now. If you go to the police headquarters in Kano now, you will find out that arrested persons are already being tried. So we are not keeping them indefinitely. Okay, I think that's all questions.
Okay, this is.
Okay.
Okay, maybe the DSS will be addressing the issue of subversion and maybe the question on funding. Ordinarily, traditionally, there are 5 angles to look at crimes or threats against national security. Terrorism, insurgency, sabotage, espionage, and subversion. And but beyond the 5, the incursive and disruptive nature of the internet has expanded the landscape of global threats today, that even conflicts that used to be inter are now intra, like what we are having now. We are not being faced with war by any country, but internal uprising and all of that. So you cannot rule out the intent of those who are sponsoring this kind of persons. After all, what is subversion? Willful intent, willful act designed to undermine an authority. And how do you do that? People begin to show unreasonable disdain for constituted authority. People begin to disrespect symbols of the state. People begin to call for change directly, for change of regime. And we have seen all the parameters are obvious. So nobody should be asking whether or not this is pre-existing subversion or whether it is with us. It's with us. And what should security organizations do? Before now, was there an intelligence? Yes. Now, is there an intelligence? Yes. Were actions taken? Democracy is not the same thing as dictatorship. In democracy, you follow procedures, you follow rules. You are talking about arresting somebody and also prosecuting the person. You are calling me to account about someone you presumed we arrested. These are issues in democracy. You are not allowed as a security organization to take laws into your hands. And that is why we are even doing this. That is why we are accountable. That is why the military is also declaring their subordination to constituted authority, because that is the pillar of democracy. So now people have started manifesting attitudes that are inimical to security and to the welfare and orderliness of the society. So we won't cross our hands. We have arrested sponsors of those who did the flag. It's not just that children are throwing flags or flying flags. No, there is more to that. There are some aspects of our operations that we may not sit before the camera and begin to reel out, either because of their sensitivity, either because we are not supposed to say them now, or because there are ongoing investigations, and we may not say things that will jeopardize those investigations. But I can assure you, be patient with us. You will hear from us sooner than later. We are not sleeping over the issues. We will take it to the end, and you'll be surprised if at all we will declare the information to the public. You'll be surprised at what we know and what we have seen. So the fundings are there. But let me even shock you that people are leaving the banking space to virtual currency. And people are using crowdfunding to raise money. People are using things other than the currency that you know of, channels of transaction, to do bitcoins, to do virtual currency, to do all manner of things to raise financing. But we are tracking all of that. The NFIU is doing so much. Our Directorate for Proceeds of Crimes and Recovery Management is doing so much. Our Economic Intelligence Directorate, all our operations, and in fact, all our structures are geared towards extracting intelligence that will disrupt the networks of either the espionage agents or the subversive agents. But definitely, the small children you are seeing are the pawns on the chessboard. The real persons behind them we are on track of such persons. Some of them are already in our net, but we may not discuss or disclose aspects of the operations now, but definitely we will. Thank you.
Okay, the CNS.
Okay, thank you very much. I think just two questions that I need to address. The first one, which talks about what we are doing to bring those subversive elements to book, has been adequately addressed by the IGP and the DSS. So I won't respond to that again. But on the other question that talks about what the Nigerian Navy is doing to boost oil production, I'd like to inform you that as part of our role in terms of provision of aid to civil authority and provision of aid to civil power is our enforcement duties, enforcing maritime laws within Nigeria's maritime domain. And we see this role as key, particularly in this period where oil production is critical to our economic survival. In fact, we see protection of Nigeria's national oil assets as a very critical area that we must focus our attention. And therefore, we've redefined our operation and our strategies to encompass what we call a trinity of action concept. This involves surveillance, response capability, and then law enforcement. These three trident aspects put together takes us to where we are, which is the results that we are beginning to see and we are also improving upon. For instance, we've increased our surveillance capability by using our maritime domain awareness capability, which is technology-based systems that enables us to have 24-hour visibility of what is happening outward at sea. Although these systems have some limitations, particularly the fact that it cannot effectively cover the backwaters. And when I say the backwaters, I mean the creeks and the riverine areas that are covered by trees and the other things. We are making effort to use other forms of surveillance. And that's why we have rejigged that maritime domain awareness capability to incorporate the use of drones, the use of our air assets, our helicopters, to conduct surveillance, and above all, the use of the people, because human intelligence is key, is even the most important, much more important than technology. And in this respect, we are particularly working with the communities, working with other stakeholders, working with the oil industry, working with all the operators in the field to give us adequate information when these breaches occur. Of course, you know that we are also not acting alone, because the maritime domain is an area where no particular agency can do it alone. In fact, the government agency cannot even do it alone. So we are working together with the Army, the Air Force, the police, the customs, and all other security agencies in this regard, particularly even the civil defense. And we are all geared towards making sure that we check these criminals who are causing these problems in the creeks, particularly in terms of vandalization of oil pipelines. And I can tell you that if you have local information from within the Niger Delta, for instance, in Port Harcourt, you know that the situation has changed tremendously. The reports we get from the field shows that it is very, very difficult now for some of the people who use these products to get them in the market. At one time, most of the products, AGO in the market, were already illegally refined petroleum products. But now, it's very difficult to get that. And I see some people shaking their head because, you know, it's true. If you go to the fields, you go to Port Harcourt to Warri and look for, maybe you want a cheap AGO, you find it difficult to get. These are the results of some of these our operations, working together under the auspices of the Joint Task Force Operation Delta Safe, and also our own operations, which we call the Operation Delta Sanity. We have rejigged that operation, particularly in the area of maritime domain awareness. Then, in the area of response capability, over the years, which is part of our strategic plan, we have put fleet renewal as key to our ability to be able to checkmate these critical areas. And our acquisitions now are not geared mostly towards big ships like frigates, but to offshore patrol vessels and fast attack crafts and boats, which will enable us to be able to penetrate these areas and turn the tide against these criminals. Every day, our ships are at sea, our boats are at sea. As I'm speaking to you now, over 12 Nigerian Navy ships are at sea, patrolling the maritime domain. And we are making having tremendous results in terms of arrests. Within the last 6 months, over 60 vessels have been arrested. Some of them are in various stages of investigation and prosecution. Within the last period, there is no day that we do not deactivate several illegal refining sites. But the bad thing about this is that these criminals, the facilities they use in establishing these illegal refining sites are so cheap that once we destroy them, tomorrow they come back to set it up again. But our men are in the field. In the course of our duties, so many of our men have paid the supreme sacrifice. Either they get consumed by fire during the process of the deactivation of these illegal refineries, but it's a task which we see as something we cannot just look the other way. So we are determined that we must do all that we have to do to achieve what the result, and we are doing that. Then in terms of law enforcement, of course, those of us who are in the field, you know that in 2017 we had this harmonized terms and conditions, a harmonized standard operating procedure for arrest, detention, and prosecution of offenses within the maritime environment. And that's why I say that the issue of collaboration, because the Nigerian Navy and the armed forces as a whole cannot prosecute these offenders. And that's why we have a common framework whereby when we make this arrest, whether it's the Navy that makes the arrest, or the Army, or the police, or the civil defense, then we make our preliminary investigations and forward to the appropriate prosecution agencies to ensure that at the end of the day, faces are brought into these offenses and they are convicted to serve as deterrents to others. We are achieving results, and like I said, it is far much better than where we started, and we hope to redouble our efforts to make it better. And I promise you that with this collaboration among all of us, our trident strategy of law enforcement, response, capability, and surveillance, improving our surveillance, definitely will get better results. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I think we're almost through. Let me give civil defense any last comment, 2 minutes, and then immigration, and then we'll round up.
Well, just as the CNS said, we are working very closely with Nigerian Navy, actually in the creek, and we have made several very unprecedented arrests on the number of vendors, bunkerers, whether it is from tanker, from barges, from vessel, and the rest. And most of the cases actually are subjudice, but because we have the powers of prosecution, we have secured a lot of convictions, on the vandalization issue. And I think that with the present charge that the president gave the security agencies, has been championed by CDS on the issue of increasing the capacity of oil production. I think all hands are on deck to make sure that we improve the capacity. And so by going forward, there is a very robust operational framework that has been designed by CDS, and all of us have keyed in. And I think definitely we are going to see better results going forward. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Immigration.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Just to buttress what the IGP said and the DSS said regarding the sponsors, the question the gentleman asked, I just want to let you know that some of these sponsors, some of these people who are actually in diaspora, we have a number of them who are actually instigating this mayhem that we're seeing right now. What we've done is we've had them on our watch list, and they've been watch listed. We have them on our radars, and we're making sure that any attempt they make to come into the country, we'll notify the necessary authority. And we're working closely, of course, with the NIA and DSS, of course, and the NSA's office, so that all those we have in diaspora that are actually trying to subvert the authority of this nation, they are in our radars. We have them watch listed, and any attempt they make to come into the country will be notified, and we'll also know what to do. We'll notify the necessary authority. So in essence, we're also making sure that everyone who is not supposed to come into the country, any person who is of interest in terms of these activities going on right now, we will make sure that as they come in, they are handed over to the necessary authority. Thank you.
Right, thank you. IGP, any last one?
What I have is an appeal to Nigerians to be patient with this government. Yes, there is hardship everywhere. And this hardship is not only limited to Nigeria. There is hardship all over the world. It's a global problem. But is our government doing anything about it? Yes. Our government is doing a lot to ameliorate the suffering of Nigerians. We need to be patient with this government. We read in history book the story of China. There was a Chairman Mao in China, the father of China, who said, "Let all Chinese go naked until we're able to produce our own clothes. Let us all go hungry until we're able to produce our own food." And what do we have in China today? Prosperity. China is one of the super world now. There was a time that it was hard for them. They went through hardship before they became great. Let us also agree that this is the hard time that we have to go through for prosperity to come to our country. The government is doing a lot to put the country on the path of economic recovery and growth. If we are patient with this government, very soon we will see the dividend. That's what I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Joe Esther. The Chief of Defense Staff, sir, the protocols duly observed. I just want to add one or 2 points regarding the question that was asked about what was being done specifically by the Nigerian Navy to ensure that our crude oil production was on the increase. I want to re-emphasize, as mentioned by the Chief of Naval Staff, that it's really a joint effort through the Joint Task Force South-South Operation Delta Sea, which is managed by the Defense Headquarters. The Nigerian Air Force has an air component in that operation. And if you have been following the activities of that Joint Task Force in the South-South, the Nigerian Air Force, as part of fleet renewal, took inventory of 2
T-129 attack helicopters about 3 months ago. And as part of our own effort to ensure that the crude oil production is really ramped up, which has a lot of impact as the mainstay of the Nigerian economy, we deployed these 2 helicopters to that operation. And within that period, those helicopters are special mission helicopters, which are very suited for the kinds of operations that we do against pipeline vandalism and illegal oil refining, oil theft. And within that period of 3 months, these 2 helicopters, we have taken out over 80 illegal refining sites within that period. We have also destroyed over 75 reservoirs where illegally refined, petroleum products are stored. So if you look from where we are coming around February, March, when crude oil production in the country was about as low as 1.2, 1.3 million barrels per day, today we have 1.6, 1.7 million barrels per day. So a lot has been done, a lot is being done through this joint task force. And the target eventually is to achieve our opaque quota, which is 2.2 million barrels per day and even above. So I just felt I should put more clarity in terms of the efforts that the Nigerian Air Force is also putting into that direction. And finally, I want to also appeal to all Nigerians to continue to be law-abiding, continue to be peaceful. We have seen the effect of what has happened in the past few days, and it is very clear that that is not the way to go. Let us give dialogue a chance. Let us be patient, and let us give chance for the policies and programs of the current administration to take place, to unfold, and we'll see that in very short while, a lot of the grievances and the complaints and the challenges that we are complaining about today will be addressed. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Chief of Army Staff.
The Chief of Defense Staff, sir. In closing, I would like to address 2 concerns raised by those who asked questions. First is on the likelihood that we have shifted our attention from our main operational commitment to deploying resources to combat these protests that have turned riot. And I want to assure you members of the media, Nigerians, that the Nigerian Army is the people's army. As the Chief of Army Staff, my eyes are on the dashboard. So I'm more concerned about bringing our country to a state of sustainable peace and security. And in doing that, I want to state that our attention have not been diverted from our main operational commitment. I checked the number of patrols that troops conduct, the number of ambushes that are undertaken on a daily basis, the number of violent insurgents that have been eliminated, decapacitated, and other indices. And it has not dropped by whatever measure. Also, we have continued to expand the frontier of peace and security in Borno State. People, IDPs, are being returned back to Kukawa, Bita, and some other places as I speak to you. Those are indices of return to peace and stability. So the troops are not relenting in their operational commitment in the field. On our contingency plan, in the situation, in the event that the situation degenerates. I've said it, that since 0600 hours today, we have experienced peace, palpable state of security, and so we are reassured that we'll continue along this trajectory. And we'll walk in line with our training, in line with our doctrine. And I want to also assure you that our estimates looking into the future suggest that the situation will not degenerate. But we need the cooperation of every stakeholder in Nigeria to achieve that. And what we have witnessed is that in some parts of the country, these protests have been peaceful. The protesters have conducted themselves in orderly manner. So in places where we have experienced breakdown of law and order, it has been arrested. So we have returned back to peace. And if, peradventure, there is a flash, those will be arrested as well. So we do not foresee this situation degenerating. And I want to thank the members of the press for your cooperation so far, for the feedbacks that we have received from you. They've helped us to up our ante for our troops to remain professional and to perform better in the field. And working together, we believe that we can defend our constitutional order, we can defend our democracy, we can maintain peace, sustainable peace, and harmony in our country. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. This brings us to the end of today's meeting. Let me start by appreciating Nigeria. I want to appreciate Nigerians for their understanding, for their commitment to upholding the law and order. We had issues the past few days, but you can see that people have seen reason for us not to continue with the destruction, to stop the looting, to stop giving opportunities for others to subvert our nation, to destroy our nation, but to join hands together with the security forces to make Nigeria better. We want to assure them, we on this side, that we are fully committed. We love Nigeria, we love the country. We are mindful of the fact that we are being paid, we are being equipped by monies generated from the country, and so we are duty-bound to protect the country. We are only after those that are against the state, not those that are innocent. So I want to make that very clear. We will continue to work together as a team to support Mr. President in achieving his mandate of peace and tranquility in our dear country, Nigeria. We want to thank members of the media for the support given to us, and that to remind them that we are partners in progress. If there are issues on ground, please reach out to us and clarify, rather than just run and make your reports. We are always operating on an open door policy in all we do. We are very transparent, we are very professional, and will continue to do that. I want to thank you for your commitment to in all, and to call for the collaboration of all other agencies to ensure that we achieve our success. I want to caution against violence again, call for calm. Mediation, discussion, dialogue are things that we project, and those are the things we do. And the overall is to have national unity and cohesion as one great country, Nigeria. We want to thank our troops out there in the field, toiling day and night. Despite the risk to their lives, separation from their families, they've continued to forge forward. We commend them for their job and to ensure that we're together with them, and that the president is looking after them and has promised that he will do a lot of things considering their welfare. Once again, on the final note, I want to thank everybody that is here today for this opportunity. We are showing that we're people-centric in all we do. The people matter to us more than any other thing. Thank you, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Distinguished senior officers, gentlemen, I want to use this opportunity to thank... Okay, sorry.
Okay, we're currently live from Abuja as we just witnessed to a press briefing held by all heads of security, which included the Army, Police, Customs, Immigration, DSS, NSCDC, Air Force, and Navy, where the major message was an appeal to Nigerians to give peace a chance. Some of the highlights were, of course, the fact that they noted that the protests had been hijacked by criminal elements. And, of course, there was the observation of Russian flags, which were said to have been imported, and all those who were arrested for having carried them and having played a part in tailoring these flags will face treason charges. Immigration has said that all borders have been manned and that those who are suspected of sponsoring and being architects of the subversion of the authority of the nation have been placed on watch lists, and notification will be given to the relevant authorities if they do attempt to step into Nigerian borders, as they are said to be in the diaspora. The media was also issued a warning against sharing an inflammatory narrative and was encouraged to tell stories that unite. With regards to arrests made in Kano specifically, it was stated that those who are arrested are already seeing their day in court as per the 24-hour time limit stated by the Constitution. The IGP also stated categorically that the police did not fire any bullets. The police did not shoot, according to the IGP. All right, well, that's live from Abuja. That was a press briefing on national security. We'll take a very short breather. Newsday continues after this break.